Briar Glen looked like every other luxury community. Perfect lawns, beautiful homes, and an HOA that believed it controlled everything. That morning, I arrived to inspect a piece of land. My family had owned it for decades. The records were clear. At least, I thought they were. Before I reached the property, security stopped me. They claimed I wasn't allowed inside. According to them, I was trespassing on land my family owned. I showed them my documents. The guards examined them briefly. Then they made a phone call. A call that changed everything. A few minutes later, Melissa Grant arrived. She seemed completely certain I was wrong, and she carried an entire binder of HOA records. Melissa claimed the land belonged to the HOA. She insisted the community purchased it years ago. Then she demanded that I leave immediately. I refused. Instead of discussing the records, Melissa called the police. Several residents gathered nearby. Everyone wanted to know what was happening, and the crowd kept growing. Captain Reed listened carefully. Both sides presented documents. Neither side wanted to back down. The situation became increasingly complicated. The maps told two very different stories. One came from HOA files. The other came from county records. Only one could be correct. Rather than argue further, I called the county records office. There was something Melissa didn't know. Something buried in decades-old property records. And it was about to change everything. The county records office immediately began reviewing the documents. Some records dated back more than 50 years. Property transfers were carefully examined, and an interesting pattern quickly emerged. Captain Reed decided to pause any trespassing action. The ownership dispute was clearly unresolved. No one was being arrested, not until the records were verified. Melissa remained confident. She insisted the HOA owned the land. According to her maps, the case was already settled. The county records suggested otherwise. As officials reviewed older records, they discovered something unexpected. Several property descriptions didn't match later HOA documents. The differences weren't small. They affected large sections of land. Meanwhile, I gathered additional records from my family's archives. Many had been preserved for generations. Every document pointed to the same conclusion. Ownership never changed. To eliminate all doubt, the county ordered a survey review. Professional surveyors arrived the next morning. That immediately attracted attention and concern. The survey team checked every boundary marker. Historic measurements were compared with modern data. The process was precise and impossible to influence. As surveyors worked, rumors spread through the neighborhood. Residents wanted answers. Many had never questioned the HOA maps before. Now, they were questioning everything. Melissa called an emergency HOA board meeting. She defended the community's position. But several board members were becoming uneasy. The county investigation worried them. By afternoon, preliminary survey results arrived. The findings matched the older county records, not the HOA maps. That changed the entire dispute. Captain Reed reviewed the survey carefully. The boundaries were becoming much clearer. The land ownership question was finally getting answers, and those answers surprised many people. The updated maps revealed several mistakes. The disputed land wasn't HOA property. In fact, it had never been HOA property. The records were remarkably clear. When the board saw the findings, the room became silent. Several members checked the maps repeatedly. The evidence was difficult to ignore and impossible to explain away. Melissa searched for errors in the report. She found none. The survey matched the county records perfectly. The dispute was slipping away from her. As the sun set, one thing became obvious. The land ownership issue was nearly resolved. The county records were winning, and the HOA's biggest problem was still coming. The following week, county officials released their final decision. The survey, deeds, and ownership records all agreed. The disputed land belonged to my family, not the HOA. The board immediately demanded answers. They wanted to know how the HOA records became inaccurate. Several members were furious, and Melissa had very few explanations left. Residents packed the next community meeting. Many felt misled. Others worried about the HOA's future. Trust was rapidly disappearing. I presented the complete ownership history. Every transfer, survey, and legal description was documented. The timeline stretched back decades, and it confirmed the same conclusion. Then another discovery changed everything. While reviewing HOA documents, attorneys found an overlooked clause. Most residents had never heard of it. Even several board members seemed surprised. The clause explained how the HOA could be dissolved under specific circumstances. Ownership requirements played a major role, and the disputed land was part of that equation. Suddenly, the stakes became much higher. As the meeting ended, nobody was talking about trespassing anymore. The conversation had shifted completely. Now, people were discussing the future of the HOA itself. And Melissa realized the situation was far from over.